It's time for Tales with Tosinger. Tell me what time it is. It's time for Tales with Tosinger. Tell me what time it is. It's time for Tales with Tosinger. It's time for Tales with Tosinger. Ooh. Hello everyone to another episode of Tales with Tosinger. I am your favorite singing storyteller, and I am excited to share today's story with you. It's short and sweet, but it's, of course, as usual, full of lessons and slightly amusing too. So anyway, let's get to it. So today's story is about a little boy who lived with his uncle and auntie because unfortunately his parents died when he was a little baby, and his auntie and his uncle struggled to raise him up. They tried their best to give him everything he needed to go to school. They provided for him. They gave him all the basic needs and comforts that he would ever require. And one day, the uncle did a very great service to the community, and the king of the village wanted to appreciate the uncle, and he threw a feast in honor of the boy's uncle and invited the whole family, the whole community, the whole village to the feast at the king's palace, which was a big deal. It was a big deal for the king to throw a feast for an individual in the community for doing great work, for doing a great service. And so the family on this fateful day went to the king's palace to have fun, eat and dance. And they served the food, and they served the little boy his food. Let's call the little boy Ali. That just popped in my head. So Ali got his food, and as soon as Ali got his food, Ali got his food was fufu, and fufu is usually eaten. Fufu is West African, is African. It's like a mound of food. It's a molded yam flour. You take a mold of it and you dip it in the vegetable soup and you eat it. So it's usually eaten with vegetable soup, pepper soup, with meats and chicken and fish, whatever catches your fancy. But that's the feast of the day at the king's palace on this day. And so Ali took his mound, and dipped it in his stew and started eating. And as he was eating, he started crying. Who cries when they're eating? Everybody was like, Ali, why are you crying? This is a day of joy. Everybody's happy. Everybody's rejoicing. Everybody's dancing. Everybody's eating. Whatever you can think of, there's a sign of joy is happening right here. Anything but crying. Ali, why in the world are you crying? Everybody started wondering. He just started, every time somebody asked him why he was crying, he just started boohooing some more. Ali, why are you crying? Everybody started asking the uncle, the auntie, the friends, the relatives, the cousins, the nieces, the nephew, everybody, distant relations. This boy couldn't give a good answer. Not until the king, of course in all his power and majesty, rose up and said, "Little boy, why do you weep?" And then Ali opened his mouth and said, "Eran, you think Jacob. I know you guys are wondering, what does that mean? Eran Neo Jen Kombe, which is a Yoruba statement. It was a statement made in the Yoruba language. You know, apparently it's a Yoruba village and he's a Yoruba boy. And everybody started laughing when they heard that. I'm sure you're wondering what that means. Everybody started laughing. What? What? What did he just say? What? What he was saying is that there was just too much meats and chicken and fish in the stew that the mound of fufu couldn't touch the stew. He was so used to not eating that much flesh in his daily meals, because apparently he came from a struggling family. So on this day that he had this much on his plate, he was just so overwhelmed by the number of meats and chicken on his plates. He started crying that the fufu can't touch the stew, because usually there's a stew and then there's a fish and the chicken and the meat in the stew. So there's no space for him to actually dip the fufu in the stew for him to eat. That's why he was crying. And everybody started laughing. Of course, that was such a funny situation. But they now calmed him down and said, it's okay. Get him another empty plate, put the fish and chicken and meat separately so he can touch his fufu with his stew. And there is actually a lesson in this story. It might be funny. It might have been a tough and painful situation for Ali. But there is a lesson in this story. And the lesson is that do not underestimate or do not overestimate somebody's circumstances, because you just never know when something is going to change for them, or their life is going to get upgraded or improved, So the main lesson is that anything can happen anytime. And may we all cry tears of joy when it eventually happens. May we all say, because now things have changed and we have access to wealth. We have access to things that we didn't have access to, that God had made available. Provision has been made for us. So that is the underlying lesson of the story, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me on this March episode of Tales with Tosinger, and see you in April. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share if you like what you hear and want to spread the good vibes with other people. Please feel free to do so. Thank you so much, and have a great future. Bye. Today's story is titled The Boy Who Cried Because